Most people believe their thoughts are entirely their own, but environment influences behaviour far more than people realise. Not just physically, psychologically, emotionally, socially, digitally. Your environment is constantly teaching your nervous system what to focus on, what to fear, what to normalise, what to pursue, and what to ignore. And because most of this happens gradually, people rarely notice it happening in real time. Key. Human beings adapt incredibly quickly. That's one of our greatest strengths, and also one of our greatest vulnerabilities, because the brain is constantly calibrating itself to surroundings. The conversations around you, the emotional tone around you, the noise around you, the urgency around you, the standards around you, and the chaos around you. Over time, repetition stops feeling noticeable. It starts feeling normal. Psychology refers to this part of this as environmental conditioning. The nervous system learns through repeated exposure, not just through logic, through immersion, which means what surrounds you repeatedly eventually shapes your internal baseline. And this explains more of modern life than people think. You can see this clearly online. Most people now exist inside environments engineered to compete for your attention. Constant stimulation, constant outrage, constant urgency, constant comparison, constant emotional activation. And after enough exposure, the nervous system adapts to heightened intensity. Silence starts feeling uncomfortable. Stillness feels unfamiliar. Patience feels slow. Focus becomes harder. Not because people are weak, because the environment trained fragmentation. Attention is trainable, and most people's attention is now being trained accidentally, or worse, commercially. Every notification, every headline, every dopamine spike, every emotional trigger. The system learns, react quickly, and eventually people confuse stimulation with meaning. This affects perception deeply, because the environment doesn't shape mood, it shapes interpretation. Two people can experience the exact same situation differently depending on the emotional environment they've been conditioned by. A fearful environment creates threat scanning. A competitive environment creates comparison. And a chaotic environment creates hypervigilance. And of course, a calm environment expands perception. That's why some people walk into a room and instantly feel tension while others don't even notice it, right? Different conditioning, different calibration. And you know, markets are fascinating examples of this. Put somebody inside a euphoric environment long enough and the risk starts feeling normal. But put them inside fear long enough and opportunity starts feeling dangerous. Same market, different emotional environment. That's why crowd psychology matters so much. Humans regulate socially. We absorb emotional tone from groups constantly, and most people underestimate how contagious emotional states actually are. There's a psychological concept called emotional contagion. Humans unconsciously mirror emotional behaviour. Tone spreads, fear spreads, calmness spreads, urgency spreads, cynicism spreads. And the more emotionally immersive the environment, the stronger the influence becomes. This is why spending prolonged periods around highly reactive people changes your nervous system over time, even if you think you're resisting it. The body keeps adapting quietly. And honestly, a lot of exhaustion people feel today isn't just workload. It's environmental overload. Too much information. Too much stimulation. Too much emotional input. Too much comparison. Too much urgency. The nervous system was never designed for uninterrupted psychological exposure at this scale, yet many people wake up and immediately enter digital environments designed to hijack attention within seconds. And then wonder why clarity feels difficult. Your environment is not neutral. That's the important part. Everything around you is reinforcing something. Your room, your music, your friendships, your routines, your feed, and your workplace, the conversations, and your standards, even your silence. All of it is shaping behavioural momentum. And the dangerous thing about gradual influence is you rarely feel it while it's happening. Humans adapt incrementally, which means dysfunction often arrives quietly. You don't suddenly become distracted overnight. You become slightly more fragmented repeatedly. You don't suddenly lose focus. Attention erodes through accumulation. You don't suddenly become reactive. The nervous system slowly normalizes urgency. That's why intentional environments matter, not aesthetically, neurologically. The environments you spend the most time inside eventually become psychological architecture, and architecture influences behaviour. This is why certain spaces change people immediately. A calm room changes breathing. Natural light changes mood. Silence changes thought speed. Clutter changes cognition. Noise changes nervous system activation. Even posture changes emotional state. Environment and physiology are deeply interconnected, far more than most people realise. And this becomes incredibly important once you start building a life intentionally. Because eventually you begin asking, what is this environment training me to become? That question changes things. Is this environment making you calmer or more reactive? More focused or more fragmented? More disciplined or more impulsive? More perceptive or more emotionally noisy? Because whether consciously or unconsciously, adaptation is happening anyway. And perhaps the strangest part of this is that many people are trying to heal themselves while remaining immersed in environments that continuously deregulate them. That's incredibly difficult because the nervous system learns through repetition, not occasional insight. And repeated exposure always wins eventually. This is why certain people change dramatically after changing. Cities, friendship circles, routines, workspaces, digital habits, relationships. It's not magic, it's recalibration. Different environment, different reinforcement, different behavioural outcomes. Truth is, most people think transformation begins internally. Sometimes it does. But often it begins with what you repeatedly surround yourself with. Because environments quietly shape identity long before identity feels conscious. And if you observe carefully, you'll realise the environment was influencing the behaviour long before the behaviour became obvious. Anchoring light, awakening strength. The equilibrium path unfolds.